What if I told you that the very first empire in human history was built by a man who dared to defy God himself? Nimrod, the mighty hunter whose name is still spoken with a mix of awe and dread, wasn't just a leader. He was the architect of one of the boldest rebellions against divine authority. But why would someone blessed with strength and power choose to challenge the Creator? The story of Nimrod is one of ambition, power, and the dangerous allure of greatness. As we dive into his life, you'll discover why his name has echoed through the ages and what his defiance means for us today. Could it be that the lessons from Nimrod's rise and fall are more relevant now than ever? Imagine a world where one man's ambition could unite humanity or plunge it into chaos. Nimrod's story is not just ancient history. It's a mirror reflecting our own struggles with power, authority, and the choices that shape our destiny. Join me as we uncover the truth about Nimrod, the man who sought to reach the heavens but fell to the earth, leaving behind a legacy that continues to challenge us. Are you ready to face the mighty hunter who defied God? Nimrod, a name that resonates with power and defiance, traces his origins back to the lineage of Noah. As the great-grandson of Noah through Ham, Nimrod's bloodline carried the weight of a new beginning post-flood. It's intriguing to consider how this connection to Noah, a man of righteousness, contrasts with Nimrod's eventual path. His family, having witnessed the flood's devastation, would have undoubtedly passed down tales of the world that was and the covenant God made with Noah. This lineage provided Nimrod with not just a history, but a platform upon which he could build or rebel. Growing up, Nimrod wasn't just another child in a post-flood world. He was groomed with the stories of old, where the might of men and the wrath of God were well known. His grandfather, Cush, and father, Ham, played pivotal roles in shaping his worldview. Nimrod absorbed these influences, but with a twist. Instead of adopting the piety that Noah exemplified, Nimrod sought power, strength, and dominion. It was as if he was determined to forge a path contrary to the humble obedience that marked his great-grandfather's life. From an early age, Nimrod exhibited qualities that set him apart from his peers. He was not just physically strong. He possessed a charisma that drew people to him. His boldness was evident, and it wasn't long before he began to assert his will. In a time where communities were rebuilding and people sought security, Nimrod's prowess as a hunter became legendary. But hunting was just the beginning. Nimrod's ambitions extended far beyond the wild. He aimed to dominate the hearts and minds of men, bending them to his will. The story of Nimrod is also a story of legacy. The name Nimrod itself, often translated as mighty hunter before the Lord, hints at a complex relationship with God. Yet, his might wasn't just in physical strength or skill. Nimrod's legacy was one of ambition, an ambition that would eventually lead him to challenge divine authority itself. His rise wasn't merely about personal glory. It was about establishing a legacy that would endure through the ages, for better or worse. Nimrod's origins are steeped in the history of a world recovering from divine judgment. His story serves as a reminder that greatness can emerge from humble beginnings, but also that power can corrupt. As he grew, so did his aspirations, setting the stage for the monumental impact he would have on humanity. The legacy of Nimrod, both in name and in action, was far from simple. It was a legacy that would lead to one of the most significant rebellions against God. With a foundation rooted in a lineage of survivors, Nimrod's journey from a descendant of Noah to a defier of God raises questions about the influence of heritage and the choices that define our paths. As we move forward, we'll see how these origins shaped his actions and the world around him. Nimrod's reputation as a mighty hunter wasn't just a title. It was the foundation of his rise to power. In a world where survival depended heavily on strength and skill, Nimrod excelled. His prowess in hunting was unmatched, and it wasn't long before he became a figure of admiration and fear. But Nimrod wasn't hunting just for sustenance. His hunts were displays of dominance, both over nature and the people who would soon follow him. This was the beginning of Nimrod's transformation from a mere man to a leader whose authority would stretch far beyond the wilderness. The art of hunting in Nimrod's time was not just about skill with a weapon. It was about strategy, patience, and an understanding of the natural world. Nimrod mastered these aspects early on, and his successes in the hunt became legendary. His name was spoken with awe, and stories of his feats spread quickly, solidifying his status as a leader among men. But what truly set him apart was how he used his hunting skills as a metaphor for leadership. Just as he conquered the wild beasts, Nimrod began to conquer the hearts of men, positioning himself as a ruler whose power was both feared and respected. Nimrod's rise was also marked by his ability to unify people under his banner. His achievements in hunting translated into a reputation that attracted followers. People began to see him as more than just a hunter. He was a protector, a provider, and eventually a ruler. Nimrod's leadership was characterized by a blend of fear and admiration. He knew how to command, and those who followed him did so out of a mix of loyalty and fear. In many ways, Nimrod's rise as a hunter was symbolic of his future ambitions to build and rule cities. As Nimrod's influence grew, so did his ambitions. Hunting was no longer enough. He sought to extend his control over people and land. This ambition led him to establish the first cities, marking the beginning of civilization under his rule. The transition from hunter to ruler was seamless for Nimrod, who applied the same skills of strategy and dominance to the governance of people. His early achievements laid the groundwork for his later conquests, where the skills he honed in the wild would be used to shape the destiny of nations. Nimrod's rise as a hunter is a story of ambition, skill, and the drive to dominate. His early achievements were not just about physical prowess. They were about establishing a reputation that would carry him to greater heights. As we delve deeper into his life, we see how these early successes as a hunter became the stepping stones for his later achievements in building cities and establishing the first empire. Nimrod's journey from the wilderness to the throne raises questions about the nature of power and how it is acquired. As we explore his role as a city builder in the next topic, we'll see how Nimrod's early achievements as a hunter were just the beginning of his quest for dominance. As Nimrod's influence expanded, his ambitions grew beyond the wild landscapes where he had first made his name. The skills that had served him as a hunter, strategy, leadership, and a keen understanding of dominance, were now turned towards a new endeavor, the building of cities. Nimrod became the first of men to establish true centers of civilization, where people could gather, trade, and live under a unified authority. His cities were not just places of refuge. They were symbols of his power and his vision for a world where humanity would no longer wander, but would be settled and controlled. Nimrod's most famous city, Babel, was more than just a collection of buildings. It was the embodiment of his desire to unify humanity under a single, dominant culture. In Babel, Nimrod's influence was felt in every corner. The city thrived under his leadership, growing rapidly in size and importance. It was here that Nimrod's vision for civilization took shape, one where people would no longer live in small, scattered groups, but in large, organized societies. His efforts laid the foundation for the first true empire, a structured society that relied on the strength and wisdom of a central authority, with Nimrod at its helm. But Nimrod's influence didn't stop at Babel. He established other key cities like Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Each of these cities was strategically placed to ensure control over vast territories. Nimrod understood the importance of trade, security, and governance, and he built his cities with these elements in mind. These cities became the hubs of ancient civilization, places where culture, commerce, and politics converged. Nimrod's legacy as a city builder is reflected in the very concept of civilization: centralized, organized, and under the rule of a powerful leader. What made Nimrod's city-building efforts truly remarkable was his ability to bring together diverse peoples under a common cause. In a time when humanity was still recovering from the Great Flood and the subsequent dispersion of tribes, Nimrod's cities offered a new way of life. They were places where different cultures could meet, trade, and coexist, albeit under the watchful eye of Nimrod's authority. This unification of peoples under one rule was unprecedented, and it set the stage for the future development of empires and nations. Nimrod's role as a city builder had profound implications for the development of human society. His cities were not just physical structures. They were the realization of a vision where humanity would be organized, unified, and powerful. This shift from a nomadic lifestyle to a settled, urban one was a turning point in human history, and Nimrod was at the center of it. His impact on civilization is still felt today, as the cities he founded became the models for future societies. As we move forward to explore Nimrod's rebellion against God in the next topic, we'll see how his ambitions as a city builder laid the groundwork for one of the most infamous acts of defiance in biblical history. Nimrod's ambitions reached their zenith with the construction of the Tower of Babel, an act that would forever mark him as a symbol of defiance against God. This tower wasn't just a feat of engineering. It was a statement, a challenge to the divine order. Nimrod's vision for Babel went beyond establishing a great city. He sought to build a monument that would reach the heavens, uniting humanity under his rule and elevating man's status to rival that of God. This audacious project was the ultimate expression of Nimrod's desire to dominate not only the earth but the very realm of the divine. The Tower of Babel was more than a physical structure. It was a symbol of human pride and rebellion. Nimrod's leadership in this endeavor showcased his ability to inspire and mobilize people, but it also highlighted his growing hubris. The construction of the tower was an act of defiance, a direct challenge to God's authority. By attempting to build a structure that would reach the heavens, Nimrod and his followers sought to make a name for themselves, to be remembered as the generation that conquered the boundaries set by the divine. It was a bold move, but one that carried severe consequences. Nimrod's rebellion wasn't just a personal vendetta against God. It was an effort to unite humanity in a common cause that rejected divine intervention. The people of Babel, under Nimrod's leadership, embraced the idea that they could achieve greatness without God. This collective mindset was a stark departure from the post-flood covenant that God had made with Noah's descendants. The tower became a symbol of human self-sufficiency, where the reliance on divine guidance was replaced with confidence in human ingenuity and ambition. Nimrod's role in this rebellion was pivotal, as he harnessed the aspirations of the people to fuel his own quest for power. The consequences of Nimrod's rebellion were swift and dramatic. The Bible recounts that God, in response to this act of defiance, confused the languages of the people, causing them to scatter across the earth. The unity that Nimrod sought to create was shattered, and the ambitious project of Babel was abandoned. This event marked a turning point in human history, where the spread of different languages and cultures began. Nimrod's dream of a united humanity under his rule was dismantled by divine intervention, and the Tower of Babel stood as a testament to the limits of human ambition when it opposes God's will. Nimrod's defiance against God through the construction of the Tower of Babel is a story of pride and its inevitable downfall. His desire to reach the heavens was ultimately thwarted, not by a lack of skill or resources, but by the divine decree that scattered the people and left the tower unfinished. The rebellion at Babel serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of hubris and the futility of challenging divine authority. Nimrod's actions set the stage for the dispersion of nations, a direct consequence of his attempt to defy the natural order established by God. As we move on to explore Nimrod's leadership and the emergence of the First Empire, we will see how his rebellion at Babel was not the end of his influence, but rather a catalyst for his continued quest for power and control. Nimrod's leadership style was as formidable as it was revolutionary. After the events at Babel, his influence did not wane. Rather, it expanded as he consolidated power and laid the groundwork for what would become the world's first empire. Nimrod understood that true power lay not just in physical strength or individual prowess, but in the ability to command and unify diverse groups of people under a single vision. His empire building was a calculated process, where he harnessed the strengths of various cultures and regions, blending them into a cohesive entity that would stand the test of time. Under Nimrod's rule, the concept of centralized authority began to take shape. He wasn't just a king of a city. He was the ruler of a vast territory that spanned multiple cities and peoples. This marked a significant shift in how societies were organized. Prior to Nimrod, most communities were small, self-governing groups. Nimrod changed that by establishing a system of governance that centralized power in his hands. This allowed for greater control, more efficient management of resources, and the ability to mobilize large groups for ambitious projects. Nimrod's empire was characterized by its military strength, economic prosperity, and cultural influence, all of which were direct results of his strategic leadership. The cities Nimrod founded, such as Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, and Calah, were not just population centers. They were the backbone of his empire. These cities were strategically located to control trade routes, gather resources, and defend against external threats. Nimrod's understanding of geography and logistics was key to his success as an empire builder. He ensured that each city played a specific role within the empire, creating a network of urban centers that supported and strengthened each other. This level of organization was unprecedented, and it set the standard for future empires that would follow in Nimrod's footsteps. Nimrod's leadership also extended to the cultural and religious spheres. He was not just a military leader, he was also a figure of immense cultural significance. Nimrod encouraged the worship of gods that symbolized power and strength, reflecting his own values and ambitions. This religious influence further solidified his control over the people, as it intertwined his leadership with divine favor. By positioning himself as a ruler favored by the gods, Nimrod was able to command not just the loyalty, but the reverence of his subjects. This fusion of political and religious authority became a hallmark of empires, shaping the way rulers would govern for centuries to come. Nimrod's emergence as the first true empire builder was a turning point in human history. His leadership style, characterized by strategic control, cultural integration, and religious influence, created a template for future empires. The legacy of Nimrod's leadership can be seen in the way nations and empires have been structured throughout history, with centralized authority, cultural cohesion, and the use of religion as a tool of governance. Nimrod's empire was more than just a political entity. It was a vision of human organization that would echo through the ages. As we explore Nimrod's influence on ancient cultures and the spread of his ideas in the next topic, we'll see how his leadership extended beyond his lifetime, leaving a lasting impact on the world that followed. Nimrod's influence extended far beyond the boundaries of his empire. His legacy was not just one of power and conquest. It was also one of cultural and ideological influence that shaped the development of ancient civilizations. As a figure of great strength and authority, Nimrod became a symbol of human potential and ambition. His ideas about governance, religion, and society spread throughout the ancient world, carried by the people who lived under his rule and by those who heard of his exploits. This diffusion of ideas marked the beginning of cultural exchange on a scale that had never been seen before. One of the most significant aspects of Nimrod's influence was his role in the development of religion and mythology. Nimrod's position as a powerful leader led to his deification in some cultures, where he was revered as a god or a demigod. This blending of political and religious authority became a common theme in ancient civilizations, where rulers were often seen as divinely appointed or even divine themselves. Nimrod's life and achievements became the foundation for various myths and legends, influencing the religious practices of the regions his empire touched. This fusion of leadership and divinity laid the groundwork for the concept of the divine king, a figure who would rule with both temporal and spiritual authority. Nimrod's impact on governance and society was equally profound. His model of centralized authority and empire-building influenced the way subsequent rulers structured their kingdoms. The idea that a single ruler could control vast territories and diverse populations became a central tenet of ancient political thought. Nimrod's approach to leadership, which combined military might with strategic alliances and cultural integration, became a blueprint for future empires. This model of governance, where power was concentrated in the hands of a few, would dominate much of the ancient world, from the pharaohs of Egypt to the emperors of Rome. Culturally, Nimrod's influence can be seen in the spread of his ideas about urbanization and civilization. The cities he founded became centers of culture, trade, and innovation. As these cities grew and interacted with other cultures, they became melting pots of ideas, where different traditions and practices were exchanged and adapted. This cultural diffusion led to the development of new art forms, religious practices, and social structures. Nimrod's vision of a unified, centralized society influenced the development of cities across the ancient world, from Mesopotamia to the Mediterranean. The spread of Nimrod's ideas was also facilitated by the migration of peoples after the fall of the Tower of Babel. As people dispersed across the globe, they carried with them the stories and traditions that had developed under Nimrod's rule. These stories evolved as they were passed down through generations, but the core ideas, centralized authority, the integration of religion and politics, and the importance of urban centers, remained influential. Nimrod's legacy, therefore, was not confined to his empire. It became a part of the cultural DNA of civilizations that emerged long after his time. Nimrod's influence on ancient cultures and the spread of his ideas was a testament to his lasting impact on human history. His vision of civilization, where power, culture, and religion were intertwined, shaped the development of societies for centuries to come. As we move on to discuss the consequences of Nimrod's rebellion and the dispersion of peoples in the next topic, we'll see how his influence continued to resonate, even as his empire crumbled. Nimrod's defiance against God, epitomized by the construction of the Tower of Babel, set into motion a series of events that had far-reaching consequences for humanity. The immediate result of this rebellion was the confusion of languages, which shattered the unity Nimrod had worked so hard to create. This divine intervention was more than just a disruption. It was a turning point in human history. The once unified people, now unable to communicate, were scattered across the earth, leading to the formation of distinct nations and cultures. The dispersion of the peoples marked the end of Nimrod's grand vision of a singular, centralized society under his control. The scattering of the people led to the creation of new civilizations, each with its own language, culture, and identity. These new nations were the seeds of diversity in human society, but they also carried the legacy of Nimrod's rebellion. The memories of Babel and the ambition to reach the heavens were passed down through generations, often shaping the myths and legends of these emerging cultures. In many ways, the dispersion was a double-edged sword. It broke the unity of humanity but also allowed for the rich tapestry of cultures that would develop over millennia. As these new civilizations grew, they each carried a piece of Nimrod's legacy with them. The idea of central authority, which Nimrod had so effectively wielded, became a common thread in the governance of these new nations. Kings and rulers across the world sought to emulate Nimrod's success, establishing cities and empires in his image. However, the memory of Babel also served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of hubris and the limits of human ambition. This duality, admiration for Nimrod's achievements and fear of repeating his mistakes, shaped the political and cultural landscapes of the ancient world. The dispersion of peoples also had profound spiritual implications. The confusion of languages and the scattering of nations were seen as direct consequences of disobedience to God's will. This event underscored the importance of humility and obedience in the face of divine authority. For the people who lived in the aftermath of Babel, the story of Nimrod served as a powerful reminder of the consequences of rebellion. It reinforced the belief that no matter how powerful a leader might become, they were still subject to the will of a higher power. This lesson resonated throughout the ancient world, influencing religious thought and practice for generations. Despite the dispersion, the influence of Nimrod's rebellion persisted. His name became synonymous with defiance and ambition, serving as a symbol of the potential and peril of human endeavor. The story of Babel, with its themes of unity, rebellion, and divine judgment, continued to be told and retold, becoming a foundational narrative in many cultures. Nimrod's legacy, therefore, was one of both greatness and warning, a legacy that would endure long after his empire had crumbled. As we move on to the final topic, exploring the spiritual legacy of Nimrod and his relevance today, we'll see how his story continues to impact our understanding of power, rebellion, and the divine. Nimrod's story, though ancient, resonates with timeless lessons about power, ambition, and the consequences of defiance against divine authority. His spiritual legacy is complex, embodying both the potential for human greatness and the dangers of overreaching. Nimrod's life and actions offer insights into the nature of leadership and the ethical boundaries that come with wielding power. In today's world, where ambition and authority continue to shape societies, Nimrod's story serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us of the fine line between ambition and hubris. Nimrod's rebellion against God, particularly through the construction of the Tower of Babel, highlights the perennial tension between human aspiration and divine will. This story illustrates the dangers of placing personal or collective ambition above obedience to higher moral and spiritual principles. In modern times, this lesson is still relevant, as individuals and societies often grapple with the temptation to prioritize worldly success over spiritual integrity. Nimrod's defiance and its consequences remind us that true power must be tempered with humility and respect for the divine order. The legacy of Nimrod also extends to the ways in which power is exercised in our contemporary world. His model of centralized authority, where a single ruler seeks to unify and control vast territories, can be seen in various forms throughout history and even today. The pursuit of power, whether in politics, business, or other areas, often mirrors Nimrod's approach: strategic, ambitious, and sometimes ruthless. However, Nimrod's story also warns of the dangers of unchecked power and the potential for it to lead to division and downfall. This serves as a reminder that leadership should be guided by ethical considerations and a sense of responsibility to those being led. Spiritually, Nimrod's story raises important questions about the nature of human ambition and the pursuit of greatness. His life challenges us to reflect on our own goals and motivations. Are we building our own towers in defiance of higher principles? Or are we striving to align our ambitions with a greater good? Nimrod's example prompts a deeper examination of how we use the talents and opportunities we are given. It encourages a balance between striving for excellence and maintaining a sense of humility and accountability to higher moral standards. In today's world, Nimrod's legacy is also relevant in the context of cultural and spiritual diversity. The dispersion of peoples and languages following the fall of Babel symbolizes the diversity of human cultures and beliefs. This diversity, while a consequence of rebellion, also represents the richness of human experience. Nimrod's story, therefore, is not just a warning, but also a call to appreciate the diversity that exists within humanity and to seek unity not through domination, but through understanding and respect. Nimrod's relevance today lies in the enduring lessons his life offers about the use of power, the pursuit of ambition, and the importance of aligning our actions with spiritual and ethical principles. His story, though rooted in ancient times, continues to speak to the challenges and choices we face in our own lives, urging us to consider the lasting impact of our ambitions and actions. As we reflect on Nimrod's story, it becomes clear that his life was a complex blend of ambition, power, and defiance. His legacy serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers that come with unchecked ambition and the pursuit of greatness at all costs. But more importantly, it challenges us to examine our own lives. Are we building our own towers of ambition, or are we seeking to align our actions with the principles that truly matter? The story of Nimrod isn't just about the past. It's a call to action for each of us today. So, what will you do with the knowledge you've gained? Will you continue to strive for success? Or will you take a step back to ensure that your ambitions are guided by wisdom and humility? I encourage you to think deeply about the lessons from Nimrod's life and how they apply to your own journey. If you're ready to continue exploring these powerful biblical stories and their impact on our lives today, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Together, we can continue to uncover the truths that shape our world and our lives. Let's close with a prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the lessons we learn from the stories of old. Help us to seek wisdom in all our endeavors and to align our ambitions with your will. May we remember that true greatness comes from humility and obedience to you. Guide us in our journey and keep us from the dangers of pride and self-reliance. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.